The McGill Big Three is the gold standard for back pain, but most people are doing it wrong. Hey guys, I'm Dr. Aaron Horschik. My most popular YouTube video taught you the routine, but today I'm taking you inside a real clinical session to show you the details that most people completely miss. If you aren't seeing results, it's usually because of these tiny technical errors. I'm going to walk a patient through the entire routine, the curl up, side plank, and bird dog, and give you the exact cues I use to fix back pain for good. Meet my patient. He came to St. Louis to work with me on his back pain, and he told me he had been doing the McGill Big Three for months, but still had pain. Now, most people will say the McGill Big Three just doesn't work for them. I disagree. The routine works. It's the execution that's often failing. So let's head on into a session. So step one is the modified curl up. You're gonna have one knee bent and one leg straight. For you, because you don't have any radiating pain down your leg, it does not matter which one is straight and which leg is bent. The reason we do this is because it helps you lock in a more neutral spine posture. If both knees are bent, it's sometimes easy to let the low back flex. If both legs are straight, it's sometimes easy to pop up into extension. Now, obviously this has to be individualized to the person, but a lot of people who have back pain find a more neutral posture pain-free because it evenly distributes stress on the back. Okay, so let's have one knee bent, one leg straight, doesn't matter which one. For you, you're gonna take one hand, let's do this one, let's put it underneath your low back. Now that's there as a pressure sensor because what you're going to do is use that to make sure that you maintain the neutral spine posture that we're looking for with this. Do a little bit of a sit-up right now and sort of round your back. Do you feel how your back pushes into your hand when you do that? As you go up and do a sit-up, do you feel your back pressurizes? Now, that's a flexion movement of the low back. I don't want that to happen for you. I want to maintain neutral and build stability in that position. So right now, with you laying like this, there's a light curvature in your low back, that's neutral. Your hand is reading 0 like on a scale. I want that to remain during the McGill curl up position. So don't let your low back push into your hand. Okay? Step two, for you, we're gonna get a little bit of a pre-brace. So I want you to take your fingers and push them into your lateral abs right here. So take this left hand, push right in here, okay? A brace done correctly is not a drawing in motion like some people do to activate the transverse abdominis, and it's not pushing the stomach straight out like a lot of power lifters do. We call that the power belly, where they take a breath and just push out. You're going to engage your abs laterally. So how to do this? Hands into the obliques, just engage your abs. Don't take a big breath, but push your fingers laterally. Use your abdominal muscles to push your hand out to the side. Can you feel that tightness? That's proper core bracing. A lot of people do this incorrectly, and I teach it over and over again, and sometimes it's just tough to get across the internet on a 1-minute video. But you're going to engage your abs laterally with a little bit of a pre-brace. Think we're taking the dimmer switch and we're just turning it up a little bit. You're gonna keep that engagement when you then do the curl up portion of the modified curl up for the McGill Big Three. Does that make sense? So it's step one, engage laterally. Now here's your pivot point, upper chest. Head, neck, and shoulders as one unit comes up a little bit, but don't bend your back into your hand. Is that okay?
I'm doing it.
You feel it, right? Pushing down into your low back, right? So a lot of people, the second they start to raise their head, their low back moves. So that shows that with a lot of different movements that you do throughout the day, you can't disassociate upper back movement in lower back movement. So I need to lock this in, create stiffness here, and then just move from the thoracic spine. Okay, so create that stiffness, just lift here, don't let that back push into your hand. Is that okay? That's it, it's not a big motion. Do you feel your low back moving? Good. Now I want you to hold here for 10 seconds. Now here's the deal, breathe. Gently breathe in and out. I want you to learn how to maintain sufficient core stiffness while you're breathing. Because I don't want you walking around and anytime you need to use your core, you need to go from 0 to 100. We're not doing 1-rep max deadlifts all day long, right? So I need to have sufficient stability. So the ability to maintain sufficient core stiffness while I can breathe allows me to go into the garage and pick up some boxes and move around and maintain stability that's at the level I need it to. So we're taking that dimmer switch, we're turning it up just a little bit more because right now, if that dimmer switch is too low, micro motions in your spine occur that trigger your pain. Does that make sense? So we're going to do 4 reps for a 10-second hold right now. Okay, so step 1, fingers into the side.
Let me ask you this. What if I swap? Would that be all right? Like if I do this leg down, this leg up?
That's completely fine. So again, because you don't have any back pain that is also causing radiating pain down your leg, you could do 2 reps on one side, 2 reps on the other. That's a great question.
Okay.
So a little bit of ab engagement. Good. Move from here. Up just a little bit until you feel the abs engaged. Good. Now, breathing. Like you have a straw in your mouth. Gentle breathing. This maintains the whole time. 10 seconds. I'll let you just count in your head. That's going to be about 8 breaths, sort of shallow in and out. Very good. And then back down.
Struggling a little bit with the hand pressure deal, just because like I feel like it's already like I'm laying on it.
Oh, the low back. Yep. Yeah. So I want you to sort of find your position. Again, neutral is going to be slightly different for everyone.
Okay.
Okay. So some people have a little bit more of a pronounced lumbar sort of curvature. Some people a little bit more flat. Yeah. But whatever you have in this laying position.
Here, look, like if you do it. Like,
yep, just sort
so
of.
I feel like I'm at anterior tilt right there.
Okay, so I just want you to lay just sort of normal. What's comfortable for you laying? Okay, so that position right there.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Don't let it move more.
Okay.
Okay, so you naturally have a little bit more of a flattened curvature. That's okay. But as soon as you're there, basically what I'm looking for is that you lock it in place and we don't move it.
Don't build more pressure.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Don't remove more pressure. Good question.
Gotcha.
Okay, so stiffness, breathing. And what you notice while you go through this is a lot of people struggle. The second they start breathing, this falters and they'll feel their abs like turn on and turn off, turn on, turn off. So what we're learning is, can I maintain sufficient stability at a low level while coming up? And the reason the Big Three is even the Big Three is because Dr. McGill, in studying different ab exercises in the resulting loads on the lumbar spine, because there's not one exercise that hits all parts of the spine. We need front, sides, and back. They just kept on finding these particular exercises as ones that activate the muscles well, because can you feel your anterior abs working pretty good now with this?
Yeah.
But it's placing a low load on your spine.
Okay.
So what that means is that a lot of people who are in an acute flare-up of back pain can tolerate these.
Gotcha.
So this is not high-level athletic performance,
This is the base.
right? This is the basics.
Gotcha.
This is step 1. And if we do a number of these repetitions for 10-second holds, we're slowly building muscular endurance, because back health is not directly related to core strength. I see athletes every day that can squat hundreds of pounds. I've worked with athletes that can squat over 1,000 pounds. Do you think they have a weak core? No. But if someone's developed back pain, it's often linked to an issue in spinal endurance, in core endurance, the ability to maintain sufficient contraction, because that's more related with motor control issues than it is pure strength. So that's where when we do this exercise and you hold for 10 seconds and then you relax. And then you do another one, you hold for 10 seconds and you relax. We're doing intervals. And that's a way that we can, without overstressing the spine, because again, a lot of people who are in back pain can't do a long hold, but I can slowly build endurance without overstressing and pushing someone into back pain.
Gotcha.
The level of contraction, you have to find the dimmer switch that allows you to do this pain-free if you're in an acute flare-up. And you'll feel, when you brace, you'll feel the back muscles engage.
Yeah, I feel like the air is getting pushed back there a little bit.
And that's actually why bracing is so good, because with this lateral ab engagement, you actually engage those back muscles as well.
Okay.
It works the core in a 360-degree manner. But then once it's locked in, I just don't want that pressure to move the spine.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's a good question and a good observation. We're gonna start off with a little bit of that pre-brace. One foot in front of the other is step 1, okay? Stiffening the core, move up into the side plank, brace your core. If you get the hips up enough, you'll feel your obliques engaging. Is that okay? Focus on your breathing. Now, the great thing about the side plank is it's only loading half your body. So for a lot of people who have back pain, this is, again, resulting in lower loads on the spine. So this is the most basic side plank. But if this was problematic for you, I would have you do this for your knee. So there's variations that we can do based on what's going to suit you at this time. 10 seconds, and then stay tight till you get back down to your knees. Okay, so here's what I don't like for a lot of people, is that they get up and then when they relax, they just side bend back down.
Okay.
Now, for some people, that's fine. If someone has an instability, especially like you, I wanna make sure that I'm maintaining contraction out of that neutral position as well.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to, while I'm down here, I'm gonna create that stiffness, then I'm gonna come up, and then I want you to stay tight until you almost bend your knees on the way back down till your hips hit the ground. That way we're just limiting as much of that movement as possible out of the spine.
Gotcha.
The spine will move, but we want to try to just minimize it right now, especially for someone that's in an acute flare-up. If this is easy, stack the feet. Bend the knees as you go back down to the ground. Good, to the hip drops. There you go.
Gotcha.
Is that a little bit different?
Yeah.
A progression that you can do from this is we can roll with it. So come up, okay, 10-second hold, focus on your breathing. Now you can see that your feet are staggered because here's what we're gonna do. We're going to stay tight and we're gonna roll to a front plank. Pelvis and hips move together, pause. Now roll to the other side plank. Everything moves together. Keep the feet in front. Keep this foot in front. There you go. So your feet don't even have to move. Does that make sense? Now you're doing your side plank on this side. But you're teaching yourself what? To stay stiff as you roll. So now we're working on that rotary instability as well, which is going to be very helpful in your particular situation as well. Because a lot of the times when your back has had that sharp pain, it's been during what? Rotation. Golf swing, moving your back, getting off a bike, right? Moving stuff like that. So 10 seconds, okay? Now everything moves together. Pelvis and low back, move to the center plank. Everything moves together. Pause. Good, stay tight. Everything moves together, back to the other side. Pause. Now you got your 10-second plank on this side. And you could go back and forth then 4 reps on each side. While you're on one side, this side's technically relaxing, that side's working hard.
Okay.
When you're on the opposite side, it flip-flops.
So because I'm not staying tight here.
You're not gonna feel it as much because the side plank loads the downside core. Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
So we got 4 reps for 10 seconds on each side now. Now the biggest issue with a bird dog is most people do it way too lackadaisically. And that's why it gets made fun of a lot. I see people are like, oh, bird dogs, I didn't feel anything. Well, it's because you're not doing it correctly. You do a bird dog the way I'm gonna teach you, and you'll feel your core working pretty good. Now, a lot of people from here, extend this arm, kick this leg out. They sort of lackadaisically go here, they really raise this leg up, which arches the back, and then they come back in. It's just a pose, it's just a yoga movement. What are we trying to do? We're trying to create core stability. So the cueing and the details matter, okay? So step 1, I'm trying to create full body stiffness. So I'm gonna bring in my upper body. I want you to push the earth away a little bit. You're gonna lift this chest. You can even look forward a little bit too, which is gonna help sort of bring in some of these muscles. I want you to be feeling your body pushing hard against the ground the whole time, okay? Step 2, we're gonna create that slight pre-brace, pushing the fingers out to the side. Excellent. Now, before we just haphazardly go fast out to the side, what I want you to do is feel the stabilization process kick in. So we're gonna break this into steps. Step 1, from here, I want you to lift here and lift here just an inch off the ground.
Brace first or
brace first, then lift. Pause. And so I actually just pick the knee up and the hand up just an inch. Good. And then come back down. Do that again. So stiffen, then lift. Pause. Good. Do you feel the stabilization process kick in? Now we're doing timing and coordination. Now extend out. This foot's gonna stay low, an inch or so off the ground. Pick this hand up a little bit more. Okay, keep that foot low. Now make a fist. Focus on your breathing. In this position, I should not be able to push you over. That's how much full body engagement we want. Okay, hand is constantly pushing into the ground on this side like you're pushing the earth away. Good, staying tall. Now we have this nice flat back. We're engaged from head to heel. If this heel comes up too high, you're gonna arch your low back and move out of neutral. Okay, now, let's say it's 10 seconds. Don't let your core relax until you slowly come all the way back to the start. Ooh, don't let it turn off. Go slow back, slow back, slow back. Now you can relax. That's 1 rep.
Yeah.
A little bit different than the way you've been doing it, right?
A little tougher.
You can do a bird dog the way everyone does it lackadaisically on the internet, or you can do a bird dog like this, and you're gonna get a lot more out of it, okay? If done correctly, we're gonna do 4 reps on each side today. You should have a little sweat built up, okay? That's what your body needs at this time, okay? But what are we doing? We're working timing. It's not, again, we're not trying to build a stronger core. We're trying to build a more stable core that has endurance and reactivity, timing. Core stability before extremity movement. That's how you throw a ball, that's how you kick, that's how you go up and down stairs. This has to kick on before arms and legs move if I want them to move optimally. So time it, stiffen, okay, good, lift it, now go. Good, foot stays low, good, core stays tight, good. Focus on your breathing, don't hold your breath. We're not doing a 1 rep max deadlift. Stay tight, constantly pushing that arm away. Good, 10 seconds, stay tight. Good, bracing, constantly feeling for that lateral ab engagement. Don't hold your breath, okay? After that 10 seconds, stay tight in the core, slowly come back in, don't allow any movement. Relax.
Can you feel that core weakening with my breaths?
What happens is that it flickers.
Yeah.
And that's common
Okay.
for a lot of people, because that's the problem that has led a lot of people to develop back troubles, is they don't have that ability to disassociate the breath from the brace.
Okay.
So they go and do a set of 5 deadlifts. From the outside perspective, it looks good. But internally, what's happening is we're having motor control issues and flickering of the core. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off.
Okay.
Almost like that dimmer switch is constantly being moved up and down. And what that does is it opens up the spine to be able to move just enough that for some people, then that's the trigger.
Gotcha.
So what we're doing with the McGill Big Three is not just, can I get the abs on? Can I engage them? Yes, that's part of it of activation and an enhancement, but I'm also teaching your body coordination-wise, how can I learn to breathe and brace at the same time? So that when you take the foundation of this and you apply it to squatting, deadlifting, anything in the gym, now your body reactively is able to breathe and keep this engaged on a subconscious level at the level it needs to be at.
There'll be no flicker.
Exactly. It would be far less.
Okay.
Because if there's better control through a set of 5 repetitions, now you're able to better mitigate the stresses on the low back. This is gonna be every single day for right now.
Okay.
We're gonna do 3 to 4 reps. If you do 3 to 4 reps every single day as a baseline, take you no more than 6 to 7 minutes to get through.
Got it.
Now before you leave, remember this, the McGill Big Three routine by itself does not fix most low back pain. It is only there as a part of a comprehensive rehab program that starts with testing to uncover what else your body needs to fix. So to figure that out, check out this YouTube video next and my injury fix book, Rebuilding Milo, on Amazon.com. And let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. Till next time, guys.